The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Hafaday, welcome to a new episode of The Hub. I'm Nick Delgado, and it's the final episode of 2024. What better way to get ready to start a new year than to speak with some of the newly elected candidates for the 38th Guam Legislature? We continue to do that. Joining us in studio now is Senator-elect Vince Borja. Hafaday.
Hafaday, Nick.
How does it feel to hear that?
You know, it's still, I think for me, right, I've always, and if you've known me over the last 4 years, I'm not one for the limelight, right? So it's different. You know, a lot of people will be like, you don't sound excited. And I think that's just always been I am excited. It really is just, I'm just never really one for titles, right? And in the military. But yeah, we're excited. I think the caucus is excited. The Republican Party is excited. And we're ready to, you know, we're counting down the days till we take office.
Yeah, and not only did you secure a spot in the legislature, you're in the majority.
Yes, that's the bigger responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure, only because obviously, you know, the Republicans haven't had a majority in almost 20 years, 16, 18 years.
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, when people I bump into people and they're congratulations and, you know, and they all say, we're excited, we can't wait to see the great things you guys are going to do. And,
yeah,
you know, I think we're focused on and we're willing, or we know we need to fulfill our commitment to, is that we promise to work really hard, right, and to listen. I think that's the most important part. Listen to the community and address the things that are most important to them. And so we're ready and we're excited.
Yeah. Aside from the excitement, how do you feel that they're really holding this Republican majority up on a pedestal? They want the proof in now what they put out there in their vote.
Yeah, I will say though, you know, if it's one thing that is a little different, and you can kind of see that, like even when we get together, right, you have like the incumbents who have been, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms, and then you have, I mean, Tony out of the 5 of us that newly elected is probably, you know, one of the returnees, but for the most part, you know, he spent a lot of time in the private sector. Most of us, actually all of us, came from the private sector. Yeah, Sean had some government time, but just a different perspective and the way of thinking, and just, you know, really being able to really sit there and not just go with what, you know, we obviously have a lot of respect for the incumbents,
yes,
and we look up to them for a lot. But I will say that the new guys and the new ladies, we really try to be independent in the way we think. Of course, with their mentorship as well. So it should be interesting. You know, we don't just all agree with everybody because of their, you know, their seniority, and so I think we have a good group of diverse background within the Republican majority, so it should be good.
I asked this question when I spoke earlier this month to Senator-elect Shango Matauta, who's still the Republican Party chairman while he's retaining that seat. I said, how do you guys plan to work with Adelup? Because you just said it there. We're not there to just agree because you have time in office, your seniority, you're the veteran. How would you say you plan, as now the senator for the 38th, plan to work with the administration?
So I'm going to speak for myself when I say this, and I've always been very clear in anything that I've done, is that, you know, I understand the role of the legislature, and our job is not to execute or to tell the governor what to do, right? Our job is to be checks and balances, to pass a budget, right? That's one of the biggest responsibilities. So of course we're open to working with the governor in regards to what her initiatives are, right? Her job is to execute the laws of Guam, and that includes what, you know, not necessarily us telling her what to do, but at the same time, if her role or her goals are to build whatever it is she wants, whether it be the hospital, right? One is to ensure that it's fiscally responsible, right? We know where the money is going to come. We're not going to, you know, put the government into debt when we do this, but also, you know, there are some concerns with some of the things that she wants to do. And I think for us, it's not just automatically say no, but to understand and to make sure that what she's doing is going to be good for the people of Guam. And for me, it's always long-term. Like, how does this affect us in the long term? Is this going to be good? And so if we're, you know, we didn't all come in with the, hey, you know, she's a Democrat and we're a Republican. It's, you know, what can we do to help the people of Guam? And if it means working with the governor and doing what's best for Guam, then we're open to it. We're not just dead set on like anything that the governor wants. We're not in support of it.
Okay, leaving nothing off the table there, it sounds like. And so you brought up the hospital. That's currently an issue still being debated between one of your Democrat colleagues, your soon-to-be Democrat colleagues, and the governor. I wanted to get your thoughts on just how the governor's going about securing the property in Manila for a hospital. First off, do you support a hospital in Manila?
I support, I support the hospital anywhere. I think given at this point, the people of Guam, I mean, again, the people of Guam elected the Republican majority because they were tired of it's just kind of the disagreements or the fighting that had been going on. And for me, at this point, like, I'm going to listen to the will of the people. Most of them say just build a hospital. We don't care where it's at this point, as long as it's obviously going to be safe and it makes sense and it's not going to, ruin our land or put more cost on our people.
Yeah.
But I think for me, if that's the best place at this point and it's going to get one built tomorrow, then I support it. And again, I speak for myself when I say this, as long as it makes sense. I know there was a recent opinion issued by the AG. Again, that's another thing to consider. I don't know all the facts. I saw it this morning. I didn't get a chance to read it. I've seen some of the back and forth. I kind of briefly looked at the release from the governor as well, right? So again, I don't, at this point I don't know the facts. But again, if the AG says it was illegal or whatever the case may be, and that's, then we have to, this is where the judiciary branch has to be the one to interpret who's right and who's wrong. And
Right.
so, that's really all we can do at this point.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break in just a moment, but I want to first ask the question, what is one of your top priorities in your first 100 days?
I think, it's out there. I'm going to be the incoming chairman on the Committee on Education. I think my priority, obviously, is I know there has been a lot of work that has been done to ensure that schools pass safety inspection, but is to continue to work to ensure that schools open on time, right? And now is the best time to ask in January and not wait to July where we're like, hey, the schools are not ready. Yeah, so that's priority number one, is
Okay.
ensure that we ask that question.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about those plans and how you plan to work with the education officials as well in that new role as committee chair. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Keep it here. You're watching The Hub.
Thanks.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Welcome back to The Hub. We continue our interview now with Senator-elect Vince Borja. Are you ready for the 38th?
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited.
He's also the committee chair on education. What were some of the other committees?
It's
It's communication.
communications, public broadcasting, and the libraries.
Okay, first let's unpack a little bit more about education. Before we hit the break, you said we want to get to discussing opening schools ahead of time. Let's start at the beginning of the year, not the beginning of the school year.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the first questions. I think for me, it's not even like, at a public hearing or an oversight hearing. I think what's important is even my first meeting, the SUP has reached out to the superintendent. With GDOE has reached out. I've met already with I met with Dr. Okada. I've met with Dr. Enriquez at the university, but I've yet to meet with the superintendent, which is really my number one priority, was especially with the public schools because of just what has happened over the last year. And so that's going to be my very first question when we meet is, where are we at with ensuring that schools continue to stay open?
Yeah.
And that not just are we going to be open, but do we have everything we need to start the school year off right?
The delay that we saw the start of this school year, it wasn't the first time we experienced that. And as an educator yourself, someone that works with the school system, what do you think might be the problem?
I think for me, right, in anything that I've ever done, from the military to corporate to even in education, is that it comes down to leadership, right? At the end of the day, you need to think of today and the things that are going on, the things that you need to address, but you always gotta there's always strategic planning. There's always long-term planning that you have to look at. You look at your calendar. You ensure that not just everything that needs to get done today is being worked on, but hey, we still have a school year that's coming up. We need to ensure that we have the inspections that need to be done. We have the staff that we have the resources that we have, and these are the things that I think that you have to hold the superintendent, the principals, the deputy superintendents accountable for. And I think, the board should own some responsibility for that as well, because again, their job is to oversee the superintendent. I mean, they hire him, and so it's definitely something that we need to continue to press and hold people accountable, hold their feet to the fire, I guess is what we call it in the
Yeah.
Army.
The superintendent's been noticing in just his first year in office that there aren't as many students that are enrolled in public school these days. So he needs to right size, as he says it, the schools, and make sure that we might need to close some schools, we might need to consolidate some schools. But you can imagine, especially as a parent, how that might give pause to many. What's your take on that?
I mean, they're doing it for the right reasons, right? Funding is obviously what initiated this thought and this task force to look at, and then of course looking at not just the funding, but also like Simon Sanchez, right?
Yeah.
There's the double session, and that has to have been or has affected students for sure, has affected families, and we don't want that to become the norm. And so I think for me, it's looking at how we can address those two things with the funding, being able to continue to fund the schools, and then how do we ease up the daily pressures of being a student in a afternoon class, or even teachers, right? I mean, it changes your life, and it's just like COVID. Like there's going to be a long-term effect because of this, right?
Yeah.
Students, either the ones that are, the ones that come in later in the afternoon, or even the ones that come in super early in the morning. It's affecting their learning, right? Most of them wake up, I think, at 3 or 4 in the morning to get to the bus stop at 5 and to get to school by 6. And so we definitely need to, with the outfitting and not shutting down the schools, but right sizing
Yeah.
the way that the school is structured. I think that's definitely something we definitely need to continue to look at.
If I may ask, let's use the letter grading system for this question here. How would you grade the state of the public education system as it is today?
That's an easy one because,
Yeah.
to put a caveat out there, my wife is a school counselor in the public school system. Her sister is an administrator. Her other sister is a second grade teacher. Her mom is a tomorrow teacher. I have a cousin who's a school aide. So I bet, just based on the
You live
conversation.
with the school system.
Yes. I mean, they would give it probably a D, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I'd be
Honest,
safe to
it's
say,
honest.
yeah, what they're, if you average out all the ratings from the public health inspections, it kind of
Right.
aligns with that, right? Not just with like safety and health, but even just with being, the resources that they have to do their job. And so that's what I would give it, for sure.
Wow, that's an honest answer, and that is what we're seeing whenever public health and DOE put out those announcements saying, "Oh, we passed." And yeah, it's good to think
Yeah.
positive about it, but I mean, you're still putting your children and your staff in facilities that really are short of,
Yeah.
of barely passing.
Yeah, I was at a cross-country meet last weekend in Anahan, and the middle school. And as we were running to the back to watch the students run, I saw the door, like big red tape, like "Do not enter, class unsafe" or something.
Yeah.
And so it was, for me, that was eye-opening, considering that we're kind of just moving about our day, right? And nobody's really talking about it right now. I'm sure the administrators are aware of it, but inspections happen when, like, we've been talking about this for the last 5 or 6 months. Like, if I was a principal of that school, I mean, I get it, there's just a lot of other things, but I would still be pounding on somebody's door, to address that. And so it's interesting to see that. And I'm sure that is probably what's going on, is that we passed, we opened, nobody's talking about it right now. So all these things that they did, I mean, my wife's school, Price Elementary in Miguel, they've shut down portions of the school, right, to pass. And so, hopefully there's a plan to get them up and running.
Okay, well, now you're leading the charge to keep them accountable on that. I want to touch a little bit on the public library system, because we have some of them that have been closed. I think Dededo, I saw it was shuttered. I'm not sure if it was just closed. Malesu, that's kind of iffy whether or not that's still in operation. But
Paragata is somewhat.
should we still have those pocket libraries, or?
I think so. I mean, especially with all this funding that they're getting for technology, right? There was that grant that just came out recently that the governor got. We definitely need to modernize it. I think that's the one thing, even just at UOG, and I know that they've done a good job. there has been some improvement, at least since I've attended there over the last 10 years, but the public library needs to really be modernized. We'll save a lot of money as well, right? Because you're not going to have all the books and all the shelves. We definitely need to, there's been a lot of money that came because of COVID and technology. I'm sure there's thousands of laptops sitting around somewhere. So we definitely need to look at all these libraries, and it'll definitely help with especially a lot of these in these underserved communities. If we modernize the libraries and students can, or kids can go there and use it. So it's definitely something that I've thought about as well.
Library is always going to be in need, no matter if you are in the digital age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finally, Senator-elect Borja, what message would you say to the Democrats, especially since they're incumbents? What would you say to them for those that are watching as you get ready to head in to work with them, alongside them?
I think one thing that was very clear in the campaign, and I think which is why the Republicans was able to get the majority, is that we committed to working with whoever, as long as it was in the best interest of the people. We're not here. I'm not here to pick a side and only align with that. We're willing to work, right, if it benefits the people of Guam, and we're hoping. I mean, granted, we have enough to make to move things. We're still open to working with the Democrats as well, and we look forward to the great work that we'll do for the people of Guam.
Okay, we'll be watching. We'll be there on Inauguration Day, seeing you guys get sworn in. Yeah. A very historic moment for our political landscape here in Guam. And again, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
All right, Senator-elect Vince Borja joining us here. We'll continue with more on The Hub here when we return.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Welcome back to The Hub. Well, a new person in the seat now for this last episode of the year of 2024, Senator-elect Shelley Calvo. Half a day, Shelley.
Half a day, Nick. Half a day, everyone who's watching out there. It's good to be back here, and I'm happy to be talking to you again and guesting here.
I think it's the first time we've spoken since the election, so congratulations are in order.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want to take this opportunity to thank every single person who supported me, who helped me out in my campaign, and most especially all the people that voted for me and gave me this chance, this incredible opportunity to serve our island and our people.
The Republican getting the majority, taking over, you're part of a big historic moment.
I agree, and it feels really good to be part of this like you mentioned, historic moment. And we're excited about it. We're very excited about it. And we started working a lot together already since day one. Yeah. So we really hit the floor or the road, not running, or the ground, not running, but flying.
There you go, soaring.
Soaring,
yeah.
yes.
And so tell me a little bit about the committees that you will be chairing in the 38th.
All these committees are the ones that I actually truly wanted to serve, so I feel fortunate to be able to have them. And I call them the committees with a heart. They're all about people, serving our people. And this is really why I ran in the first place, is to serve our people, our island. So I'm going to have child welfare. I'm going to have Manamkus. I have women's affairs. I have youth affairs. And I'm also going to have cultural arts, culture, historic preservation, Agano restoration, and so on. So I'm truly excited. It's been very busy in my corner. I didn't want to wait until next year. I started preparing already, so it's been hectic.
As someone who will be leading the charge for our Manamku, what do you see would be the most important thing that we need to get to help our?
The most crucial thing is how we really take care of our Manamkus. They are our island's treasure, right?
Greatest generation.
Greatest generation. They're one of our island's most valuable treasures because they have the experience, they have the wisdom, and I truly hope that our youth will constantly, and if not amp up the engagement with them, because there's a lot of things we can learn from them. But anyways, I think one of the most important things that we need to tackle, and I'm very much interested to work on, is how we care for them. The resources that is available for healthcare for them. We don't really have, like, unlike other places, right? We don't really have a retirement home here. So anybody that will probably have a plan for that, I would fully support things like that. Because honestly, Guam could be Asia's destination for retirement homes. Yeah. We do have a lot of Manamcos here, so we can actually start within our backyard. And
it's such a great idea, Shelley.
It is,
only
it
because
is.
whenever you think of retirement homes, stateside at least,
Yes.
from my what I'm familiar with, people think Florida, the tropics.
yes.
Why can't that be us?
Why can't that be us?
Yeah.
You know, we have the perfect environment for it. And we have not just the environment, but our culture. You know, we are very much close within our family, right? So we have the culture that we can offer. We're used to that. We're used to this taking care of Manamcos. So
Yeah.
this is the best destination for that. But obviously, we want a place for them to spend the primes of their lives in a nice, not just safe environment, but also where they can have fun. You know, we don't want to take that away from them,
Yeah.
right? So on that note, I am very much interested in working on a lot of things and projects that involve our Manamco. And not just for our Manamco. Obviously, one of my dear focus is our children and our youth. So I'll have child welfare as well.
What does that mean?
Well, I will chair CPS and foster kids. And
Oh, they really need the help.
yes, so I am happy to take on the responsibility.
Yeah.
I know it's a challenging times for a lot of kids here on Guam, not just foster kids, but there's really a lot of not just abused kids, but we're talking about neglected kids, neglected children. So I am happy to take on that responsibility and work on that.
Yeah, even one is far too many to hear about, like you said, especially when the culture and the environment that we grow up and live with here in Guam and in this region is really tight-knit.
Yes, and honestly, the tight knit that most of us grew up with, you know, okay, Philippines and Guam have very much the same culture, not just culture, but traditions, but also, you know, how we respect our elders and how we care for our kids, right? How we care for our children or our youth. So I think I like to bring that back. You know, the traditional values, I like to impose on that, and I want to work on that, want to collaborate on that one, because that really affects our family unit. And when you talk about neglected and abused kids, sometimes, not sometimes, it's most of the time, we need to factor in why there's neglect. Maybe because the values are being forgotten. You know, our traditional family unit, the values that we grew up with, that maybe we can start reinforcing them once again, right?
I love that, and it's also about giving children that voice to let them know that they should speak up whenever they are in harm's way or being neglected.
That's
or
correct.
abused.
That's
So-
correct. But not too much, because they need to listen to their parents
Of course. No, just Respect
kidding.
and discipline works both ways.
Yes. I grew up in a family wherein discipline is obviously, we're in that generation, right? And I think we're all in the place where we took correct paths or right paths, right?
Yeah.
And I could attribute that to discipline that we probably grew up with, and the family structure that we grew up with.
I call it tough love. I call it what you will, but I call it
Yes.
tough love.
Yes.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the Hagåtña restoration efforts, since
Yes.
that's something that you will be spearheading
as
in
well,
the
yes,
legislature. But
yes.
first, a quick break.
Yes,
Keep it
please.
here. You're watching The Hub.
Thank you.
The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam. The Hub is brought to you by Docomo Pacific Business and Leo Palace Resort Guam.
Welcome back to the Hub. We wrap up the show again speaking with Senator-elect Shelley Calvo. Senator-elect, how is that?
Senator-elect.
Have you gotten used to that title yet?
Not yet, but it's interesting because a lot of people are already calling me senator.
Yeah.
So I just have to
And
remind
it'll
them,
follow you
Senator-elect.
however you plan to, whatever you decide to do long
Yes.
after serving.
But like I said, I already started working from day one, and I had been sitting down with a lot of key people that, just to prepare myself, especially with my committees and everything, because I don't want to wait until next year to start working.
Yeah, and one of the things that you'll be spearheading and chairing and have oversight over is the Gutnier Restoration.
And Redevelopment Authority, correct.
Whenever you see the capital of a big city or just anywhere really, that's kind of the focus, the hub,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The city center,
Yes.
the pulse, what we have it, of any
Correct,
place.
yeah.
And I think Gutnier right now has a long way to go.
Yes, yes. We did have plans in the past, right? We did have a master plan. I actually sat there as one of the board directors in
Okay.
the past. So we did have very extensive and really good plans. And I was hoping we could still implement them, or at least part of them. But we did some restorations along the way. But the whole extent of the plan, where we liven up the capital of our island and infuse a lot of foot traffic
Yeah.
there, I think we should look into that again. And that goes hand in hand with our tourism efforts.
Yeah.
So now that I will be chairing that, I will be pushing some ideas and probably revive some plans from the past. I'm not saying everything, the whole 9 yards, but at least continue something. And it doesn't, it takes a lot of people to do that. So I will coordinate with obviously our administration, legislature, and GVB. And because I'm also chairing culture,
Yeah.
it all ties up. So I know specifically I wanted to do this because I'm very much interested in our tourism, in our economic development, and our, how we can bring Guam back to our old track before, where businesses are flourishing and people are flourishing, and there's
Yeah.
job opportunities, and there's a lot of things to do here in Guam. So I will be working, so it's all woven together, my
Okay.
committees and other plans that I intend to do for our island and our people. And I could see it already, that there's so many things I wanted to do and so little time, because this appointment is like 2 years, and 2 years can go by so fast.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm hoping for a lot of collaboration from a lot of people, and I will be there to render support. Obviously, I'm here to work, Nick.
Yeah, and the people
Yes.
the people have really put the Republican victors on a high pedestal. So
On
you
a high
guys
pedestal.
have a lot to prove. But
Yes.
you had mentioned working with other people like the administration.
Yes,
and
of
that's something the
course.
current legislature hasn't been settled on settled ground with. How do you plan to work out issues, for example, like the hospital, when it comes to any disagreements or to reach a compromise with the administration?
Well, I am the type of person who likes harmony and peace,
Yeah.
and I'd like to work with everybody. So I was actually happy to get to be elected as majority whip, and so I will not stand in the way of progress. Let's put it that way. If it's good for our island and our people, you will not see me trying to block, or I will work as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's sensible. It's good for the people, good for the island.
Yeah.
I will not stand in the way.
Okay.
And development and progress is my eyes, and my focus is in development, progress, opportunities for Guam. So I'm gonna keep everything sensible, on a sensible level. So that's how hard work and sensibility. That's what you're gonna expect from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see the work that you put in. Final question here. what would you say to your Democrat colleagues as someone who's part of the Republican majority?
That this is the time and the moment for all of us to come together, work in harmony, and set aside whatever differences there is. Personally speaking, I can work with everybody, so I have a good relationship with everybody. But and I expect that things will be smooth sailing in this coming 38th legislature for everyone.
Well, we'll be there on Inauguration Day to capture what you guys are swearing in. More history to be made, and we can't wait to see what you guys do in the 38th.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. I know the whole Guam is excited to see what's happening. But yes, for progress, here we come.
Here we come. Senator-elect Shelly Calvo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
Really
much,
appreciate
and
it.
thank you, everyone.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everyone. This is going to do it for your 2024 final episode of The Hub. We'll see you next year. Stay safe, everyone.